To go deep into the relevance of this multilateral event from New York, United States, we invite Professor and International Affairs Analyst Danny Shaw. Hi, Danny. Thank you for your time here and from the South.
Good morning, Alejandra. Thank you for the invite.
So the BRICS Summit comes to an end, and after 3 days of intense debates. So what are the highlights you can mention from this multilateral event?
Here we see 36 different presidents and foreign ministers from the global South, from around the world, coming together with a new vision for humanity. These are diverse systems. There are socialist systems like Laos and Venezuela and China meeting up with systems that are not necessarily socialist but are in the crosshairs of U.S. capitalism and imperialism, like Russia and others. If you read right now the U.S. mainstream media, I think it reflects the genuine concerns that U.S. governance, the U.S. bourgeoisie has at seeing representatives of what would be, again, always growing trade bloc. This represents large swaths of humanity. I think some 60% of the world is represented with the leadership that is there. And of course, this would represent the biggest threat to overcoming U.S. hegemony, U.S. sanctions. Every day in the world, more than 1/3 of the world's citizens wakes up under U.S. trade wars, which cripple their ability to eat, to live, to progress. And I don't think that the American people realize on a daily basis just how cruel U.S. Governance around the world has been.
Exactly, the meeting, what you were mentioning, the meeting took place amid an uncertain international scenario marked by war, conflicts, unilateral measures imposed by powerful nations like the US with political purposes. How the summit has been a space to voice the suffering of many people, but especially the Palestinian, Lebanese and Syrian peoples.
We saw Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela. We've never heard one positive word about him here in the United States or in the West, but we know that there's a different view from the global South about Nicolas Maduro and about the Cuban leadership and the Nicaraguan leadership. And to see them meeting with the Palestinians, with other Middle Eastern representatives and Western Asian representatives is an incredible sign of hope. It could not come soon enough as the genocide in Gaza pushes forward. Even Israeli and U.S. human rights organizations are admitting that this is ethnic cleansing. It has been for some colonial genocidal years. We see the desire of Israel and the West to vacate all of Gaza, of human life. We now see 1.5 million Lebanese people, about 1/3 of Lebanon, have been displaced, including about 500,000 children. This is deeply shocking to all of humanity. And I think humanity is represented there in Kazan, Russia, and humanity is not represented in the halls of U.S. Congress. These are the summits of the rich people's thoughts and the ruling class and their interests. We don't see any representatives of the American people here in D.C. to really stand up for us. So from an international perspective, it's important that people know that the American people are also rooting for the success and the growth of BRICS. Really going to benefit the American people in the long run as well. We don't benefit from these monopolies in a world where six billionaires, six individuals have more wealth than half of humanity, some 4 billion people. That's a world that is not sustainable.
During the summit, President Vladimir Putin held bilateral meetings with leaders of member nations and other special guests. Why is it important for the leaders of developing countries and the global South to meet, to debate, to be united?
Because the future of the world is going to go through Ho Chi Minh City and Moscow and Beijing and Caracas and Havana and Tehran and Harare and Zimbabwe and throughout the global South. The future of humanity is not going to be like these past colonial centuries, and I would argue today that that colonialism continues. And Tel Aviv and Brussels and Washington and London and Paris think that they have a monopoly and stranglehold over the world's future. But here we see this intrinsic rebellion, how many billions and billions of people across the world who are sick of the inequality, of the regime of hunger. Some here in the United States call it globalism. We can call it imperialism. It basically means the same thing. It means that a few global elites from the Western European countries and the United States and their puppet allies in the global South can dominate the future of humanity. But from Kazan, Russia, we're hearing something completely different. We're hearing about cooperation in terms of peace, cooperation in terms of sustainable development, mutually beneficial trade. There's a whole program to make sure that there's no ongoing deterioration of the environment across the world and the ongoing decimation of this world that we need, our children and our grandchildren. So this is a completely diametrically opposed vision for humanity. And it's not going to be beneficial just for the global South, but also for the American people, because we live under this dictatorship of the rich and the dictatorship of the capital, and we want our voices heard as well. So it's very good that there's also the social movements and different U.S. representatives, of course not the U.S. government, that are there in Russia as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Danny, for your time hearing from the South.
Thanks, Alejandro.
We were listening to U.S.-based professor and international affairs analyst Danny Shaw in the context of the 16th BRICS Summit held in the Russian city of Kazan.